In the boat building shed at the North Carolina Maritime Museum in Beaufort, a boat is taking shape the likes of which has not been seen in North Carolina waters in 150 years. Even when people hear what it is, they have to ask, what's a periauger?
Well, a periauger is basically a freight carrier. This particular boat, for example, has a capacity of about 3 tons of cargo. So that's a little bit more than most pickups will haul around.
A periauger was basically a hollowed-out log, often cut in half and made wider by adding a central section. It's a form that dates back to medieval Europe. In the New World, it helps solve a basic problem, moving goods around the colonies. Periaugers have been jokingly referred to as the pickup truck of the 1700s.
The most efficient way of moving bulk goods was by water, not by road. The roads were terrible.
These boats would come from the plantations. They would come loaded with goods from the plantations to be shipped out on the square rigger, and then they would pick up cargo from the square rigger and then make their way up all of the shallow rivers in eastern North Carolina.
Though they were a common sight in colonial times, no periauger has survived for us to see what one really looked like. And so the idea was born to make a periauger as a demonstration of colonial history.
The traditional material for the hulls, the boat itself was cypress because, number one, it grows to very large sizes, and number two, it's a very durable, rot-resistant wood, and it's easy to work.
In colonial times, a cypress forest like this would have easily supplied 9-foot diameter trees to use as raw material. But now, such large logs are not so easy to find.
So what we tried to do was come up with a system that would replicate the character of the hull itself. What we did was devise a method of laying up the hull in small pieces of wood so that all the grain was lying like it would in a log. And then we took the tools from that point and hollowed them the rest of the way to finish up the hull.
What started as a simple idea to simulate a log boat became a big project involving many volunteers. Just the research and fundraising took several years before the first piece of wood could be cut.
If we were to list all the people that were involved with the project, it would be in the area of 300, over 300.
The boat itself became a large-scale jigsaw puzzle. Work started on a cold January day and continued for over 6 months.
The draftsman draws a segment, a small segment of the boat. And he very carefully lines up where the block is to be cut and fitted and planed. And there are hundreds, we haven't counted, but there are hundreds of bricks or chunks that make up this boat. And after each individual chunk is shaped, it's bonded onto the boat. Power tools were used to facilitate the construction, and then everything is being finished with hand tools. So probably we have that advantage over the colonial folks. And since they didn't have to clean up, and they didn't have people taking pictures of them, they could have left all their junk in the swamp. Perhaps the most important thing is the boat is bonded entirely and will be encapsulated in epoxy, which is waterproof and nearly indestructible. I believe this boat will last more than 100 years with proper maintenance.
It's now June, and only a few days remain to get Periauger into the water for a long scheduled christening.
To satisfy King Neptune, we will christen her and lower her into the sea. Huzzah! All right. She floats! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
The next step is introducing Periauger to her crew. A group of eager volunteers ready for adventure.
Port side row.
The first challenge? Learning how to row. as a team.
When the question was arising, okay, how can we maximize exposure to this boat and bring the history of it to as many people as possible in eastern North Carolina? So we thought, okay, let's take the boat from town to town on the way back from Beaufort to Hertford.
Are your arms cramping up, guys? Oh, yeah?
Finally, in August, the trip can begin. And once underway, Periauger lives up to everyone's expectations.
Well, the crew loved it. They were primed to volunteer and to do anything we wanted them to. So as soon as we instructed them, they just took it to heart and really jumped in, pitched in. Some of them had never sailed, and so they had a double thrill. It is a very useful boat in the shallow waters of the rivers of East North Carolina, and she carries a tremendous load, moves through the water fairly nicely, and I can see why it's called the pickup truck of the 1700s.
A rotating series of crews will spend the next several weeks traveling up the coast, stopping along the way to introduce folks to a piece of their history.
Welcome! Welcome!
From New Bern, Periauger makes stops at Oriental, Washington, Bath, Belhaven, and Manteo.
It's an invigorating opportunity to share something that no one else has ever seen or done. It's not like you're learning from someone else. You're learning by your own experience, by your own activity, and then being able to demonstrate and teach others. There are words that you're not allowed to use, and we abbreviate them by using the first letter, and they've decided that the R word is something you don't mention. That stands for row. Don't say that word, it's the R word.
And when we're rowing it, those first few poles are like pulling molasses. But then she has so much weight and inertia that from then on it's very easy to keep her rowing.
Stroke, stroke, stroke.
We're gaining about 6 feet on each stroke. Good maneuver.
Soon, Periauger will rest in a permanent berth at the Newbold White House in Hertford, where visitors can see an authentic representation of the type of craft Abraham Sanders would have used on his plantation. In September, a now seasoned crew gets ready for the final leg of the journey and their most triumphant day, the arrival in Hertford, timed to coincide with the town's Indian Summer Festival.
Okay, Jay.
Monty Spindler takes the helm.
We started with what some people would have described as practically nothing. And look what we did. Like all the bits and pieces of wood you glued into her hull to make it whole and seaworthy, we took all the bits of research and solved the mystery. Nothing like this has ever been done before.
Didn't break anything, didn't hit anything. We sailed like a dream. Really? Perfect day. Great out. Perfect day.
It's been a long adventure, but Periauger has made the trip from the 18th into the 21st century and claimed her unique place in North Carolina history.